Mr. Pereira, which will you start with? 904?
904.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. In the interest of time, I know the committee's tired. It's been a long day. I've had a long day, too. So I'll just get straight to the point here. First, the chair is not here, but I'd like to thank the chair and especially the committee staff for working with us to address some of the concerns that the committee had to get us here today. So AB 904 would create the Clean Used Vehicle Rebate Project program that would increase access to clean vehicles. This bill would provide an incentive for low to middle income Californians who cannot afford a new vehicle to purchase a clean used vehicle. Specifically, the bill would give individuals the option to either receive a rebate of up to $2,500 for the purchase of a clean used vehicle or for a replacement battery. Colleagues, the idea behind this bill is to try and help really take a regional approach in addressing air quality issues. I think there's been the Clean Vehicle Rebate Program has been successful in certain parts of the state, but in places like mine and in other rural parts of California, it has not been that successful. In fact, of all the rebates that have been given out since the beginning of the program, fewer than 1% have been redeemed in Fresno County. And so I think the idea behind this is really to address the key issue behind the problem, that is the economics. Many of the people I represent, for example, in the rural portion of my district, who are farm workers where their average income is $19,000 a year, no amount of incentive will get them in a good place to buy a brand new clean vehicle. However, we do know that a lot of leases for clean vehicles are about to come up, so we know that there are going to be a lot of used clean vehicles. So the question is, how do we keep those used vehicles on the road and help individuals of modest means take advantage of those new cars in helping to transition to a cleaner economy? And so with that, we offer AB 904 to begin this conversation, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Move to approve. Mr. Pereira, before we move forward, have you accepted the amendments?
Yes.
Thank you. Witnesses in support, will take 3 of you first for 2 minutes or less.
Okay. Mr. Chair and members, Bonnie Holmesden with the American Lung Association in California. Very happy to be here supporting this bill. We are extremely concerned about air pollution and health problems in the Central Valley, San Joaquin Valley, and clearly transportation sources are a huge source of emissions. We have to make this transition to electric transportation. We appreciate the regional approach that Assemblyman is suggesting. There's certainly not enough focus on getting zero-emission vehicles in the Valley. We need to marshal all the resources that are available. We think this bill is a really good start. We want to see it moving forward and want to be part of the discussion as we look for how to make sure it coordinates as well as possible with the existing programs and make sure that it's as effective as possible in increasing zero-emission vehicles in the Valley. Clearly, we need to ensure that all communities have access to zero-emission transportation, and especially communities in the Valley. So we urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Mr. Chair and members, Katrina Robinson on behalf of Valley Clean Air Now. The need for advanced technology in the Valley is great, and the barriers are even greater. Solutions in the Valley especially lie in creativity, and we especially appreciate the authors' work within this bill to take a creative approach to getting these vehicles out into disadvantaged communities in the Valley. We look forward to working with the Valley Air District as well as the Air Resources Board and the author to address these problems, and also ensuring that the programs we deploy work well with the existing programs, and we can effectively stack programs to get vehicles into these communities that can be difficult to penetrate.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good evening. I'm Victoria Rome with the Natural Resources Defense Council, and I was also asked to register support on behalf of the Greenlining Institute. We support the goals of the bill, would like to see it move forward for the reasons stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. The Valley has some of the worst air quality in the state, and therefore we ask you to respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, bring it back to my colleagues for questions and comments. Ms. Baker.
Thank you. And we visited Assembly Member about the possibility of a sliding scale so that as the vehicle's value depreciates, taxpayers aren't subsidizing a greater portion of the overall value. I do think it's a good first step to agree to the $2,500 lower amount, and certainly appreciate that. But can you address the possibility of a sliding scale, or even language suggesting that be considered,
Sure.
just as something that we might be able to recognize that eventually the vehicle is going to get passed on, and taxpayers are footing the bill a little bit more?
Right. No, I appreciate the question, and as you mentioned, we talked a little bit about it this morning on the floor. You know, it's not a bad idea. In fact, I haven't put much thought into it. I mentioned to you on the floor that was an issue that we had not thought of yet. So I think we need to go back and do our homework a little bit more to see how that would work. But I do think it's important to note that the bill says up to $2,500, so I think that does provide for some flexibility as the ARB decides how they will administer the program. I think a sliding scale could be instituted. I think the question is whether or not we want it to be prescriptive in the bill or let the regulator sort of figure that out as they implement. I'm sort of open to both ideas, both perspectives, and so I guess I would just need a little bit more time to really think that through.
Please do. I will support this. I wasn't really planning on, but I do think that the $2,500 amount is better, and take you at your word and recognize an ability to maybe be prudent about how the money is allocated as a taxpayer measure to see if we can reduce it. And so I appreciate that. Be happy to work with you on it, and we can follow up with each other separately on that. I'd like to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Perea, is this on the top of the $5,000 that the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project offers?
So the $5,000 would go to a new vehicle. The $2,500 would be for the used vehicle. So yes, I mean, I guess you could say it would be on top of that, but the idea is trying to keep that clean vehicle on the road and providing access for low and middle income residents to actually drive one of these cars.
I like the concept, and I'm willing to go along, but I will keep an eye, see how it will end up
Sure.
by the time it's in front of us on the Assembly floor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bloom.
I like the concept too, and have thought about it myself for over the past year or so, because this issue comes up with respect to allocations of cap and trade dollars. I have two hybrid vehicles. One of them is about 10 or 11 years old right now, and I've had $5,000 in repair bills on that older vehicle. So my note of caution in this is that what might seem like something good that we're doing for people in disadvantaged communities could backfire. And so I just want to express that note of caution, and hopefully you'll factor that into your thinking as the bill moves forward, and I'll be supporting it today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for bringing this bill forward, Assemblymember Perea. Unfortunately, your area and the area that I represent, Imperial County, compete for some of the worst air quality areas in the state of California, and I think it's appropriate that everyone in our districts have the ability to also drive a clean energy vehicle, and this bill with the incentives put in it make it that much more attainable. So thank you for putting this forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other members wish to comment at this time or ask questions? If not, Mr. Perea, would this be also available for a second car?
No, just for one car.
So that's very clear in the...
Right.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Perea. I understand what you're trying to accomplish with this bill, Mr. Perea, and no doubt the San Joaquin Valley deserves better in terms of air quality. It makes sense to figure out a way to get these used electric vehicles into use because it will help us meet our clean air goals. I appreciate the amendments you are taking today, and I have remaining concerns and would appreciate if you can work on these as bills move forward. And I think it kind of aligns with Mr. Bloom is on what the unintended consequences could happen. I'd like to see your bill also include a full buyer disclosure so folks know that potential limitations on a used electric vehicle might have they might have as far as a limitation, and the need to address potential for fraud in the program. I'm going to vote for your bill today, Mr. Perea, because I think it has substance. And I look forward to seeing these issues addressed when the bill gets to the floor. And again, thank you for your concern about the disadvantaged and the air quality in Central Valley.
Thank you.
So with that, Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, excuse me. Getting back in the swing of things, the first is Mr. Chu, and the second is Mr. Dodd. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass as amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Baker, aye. Bloom. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu.
Aye.
Chu, aye. Daly. Daly, aye. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Linder, aye. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Nazarian. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, aye.
11-0, the bill's out. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. Mr. Perea, item number 31, Assembly Bill 1176. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I present AB 1176, this too, again, sort of stresses a theme from the previous bill, and that is taking a regional approach in dealing with climate change and cleaner air. This bill would provide California's most impacted and disadvantaged communities with reasonable and cost-effective opportunities to participate in the state's greenhouse gas emissions reduction strategies. This bill would ensure low-income communities have access to low-carbon fueling infrastructure, such as biodiesel and renewable diesel, that would provide immediate, measurable reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. Medium and heavy-duty diesel vehicles operating on conventional diesel fuel are significant contributors to emissions from greenhouse gases and criteria pollutants. However, the majority of diesel vehicles on the state's roads today can immediately reduce their emissions of GHGs, NOx, and particulate matter by using low-carbon alternative and renewable biomass-based diesel fuels. Ensuring a sufficient source of low-carbon diesel infrastructure is available would provide immediate benefits in health and the environment. Focusing targeted investments on low-carbon fuel infrastructure in disadvantaged communities is a highly cost-effective and environmentally impactful way to provide immediate and substantial reductions of GHG emissions to consumers and residents living in these areas of California. Without this bill, our disadvantaged communities will continue to lack clean fuel alternatives, and these low-carbon fuels won't be as successful. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, and with me to testify in support is Rob Elam from Propel Fuels.
And I'll remind the witnesses, 3 witnesses, 2 minutes each. Thank you.
Chair Frazier, members of the committee, thank you. I appreciate the long day today. Propel Fuels supports this bill, which targets greater portion of cap-and-trade funding and AB 118 funding towards California's most impacted and disadvantaged communities. These funds would help facilitate the deployment of low-carbon-based fueling infrastructure that demonstrate cost-effective greenhouse gas reduction strategies that provide residents with immediate benefit in air quality, public health, environment, and the local economy. I'll keep my comments brief today, but would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, Jared Ficker on behalf of Propel as well. Just a few additional points. AB 1176 would enable deployment of advanced low-carbon diesel fuels that are available today. High-blend renewable diesel is an example. It's a drop-in fuel from companies like Neste. And these, compared to conventional fuels, offer up to 70% less GHG, up to 15% less NOx, up to 35% less particulate matter. So via AB 1176, and we have an opportunity to deploy more fueling infrastructure for light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles on the road to get a 70% reduction in GHGs while targeting important criteria pollutant reductions to disadvantaged communities. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. We're in support.
Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition?
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Rebecca Long with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. My apologies. This is kind of a late drop as far as opposition. Our board just formalized its position last week, and it's really not a specific opposition to this bill, which surely has merit. Really, we're taking a position of opposition on a number of bills that redirect cap-and-trade funds for transportation to disadvantaged communities, because we really take issue with the way that Cal EPA has defined those communities. The Bay Area has a large number of census tracts that have very poor air quality, that have a lot of low-income individuals, and we have found that the Cal Enviro screen is really flawed in that methodology. So, we're not expecting members to change their votes today, but we just are hoping to engage with the author and the administration on the methodology for defining disadvantaged communities. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, any other members of the public in opposition that would like to speak to the merits of the bill? Seeing none, any committee members have any questions? Ms. Baker.
And we visited about this one, Member Perea, and that was that similar to what MTC has testified to today, is that what communities are going to get the benefit of this. In my district, which is in the Bay Area, and it's Interstate 580 is the main way anyone from the Bay Area gets to Interstate 5. And regardless of how disadvantaged or not it is under any other definition, there are trucks that come from the Port of Oakland that sit on our Freeway 580 for quite long moments of time. It's one of the worst commutes in the Bay Area. And yet it won't receive any of the benefits I think that you're focusing on when it should, because there will be an air quality issue there. And so that's my greatest concern with the bill. I don't know if you can address that.
Sure. I think the challenge is that there are needs everywhere, and different definitions help different communities in greater or lesser ways. I think that I would just say, as you are advocating for your district, I will always advocate for mine and the greater region of the Valley, and specifically rural communities. Rural communities have been asked to comply with many of the regulations that have been promulgated throughout this entire debate on reducing greenhouse gases and improving air quality. But yet we have not, we've been given very few resources to do so. And so I think as I look at the definition of the Cal Enviro screen, obviously it's a definition that I support because I think it helps direct funds into communities that have been neglected in this debate for a very long time. Having said that, if there are opportunities for us to try to widen the net a little bit without necessarily taking away from the intent of the bill, and that is to help rural California comply with these regulations and to help rural California participate in this clean economy. Again, going back to the fact that I have constituents, farm workers in my district who make $19,000 a year, trying to help them move to cleaner technologies and participate in this new environment that we are working in here is going to take, I think, some special attention. So that's why we're moving in this direction. But I'm open to trying to see if there is an opportunity to be more inclusive. We don't certainly want to keep people out, but if there's a way for us to be more inclusive, I'd like to try to figure that out.
Any other questions of the committee members? Mr. Perea, would you like to close?
Just respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Perea. So we do have a motion from Assemblymember Dodd, second from Assemblymember Garcia. Mr. Perea, thank you for bringing this bill to our committee. It makes a lot of sense that we figure out a way to get these alternative diesel fuels out there faster. They will bring an immediate benefit to communities along our freight corridors, as addressed by Ms. Baker, and those that need it the most. And so I plan to support your bill. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Baker. Baker, no. Bloom. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. Chu, aye. Daly. Daly, aye. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Linder, aye. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Nazarian. Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, aye.
The bill's out 11 to 1. We'll keep the roll open for absent members. Thank you, Mr. Pereira. Mr. Ting. And after Mr. Ting, members, that'll be item 23, Assembly Bill 946. But in the essence of time, after Mr. Ting, Mr. Bloom has a witness that has to catch a plane, so we're going to move from file item to get Mr. Bloom in to accommodate a witness. So, Mr. Ting, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just first thank you and the committee consultants for, again, working with us on this bill. AB 946 provides a framework for the Alternative Renewable Fuel and Vehicle Technology Program, which is administered by the California Energy Commission. And we ask it to better develop and deploy electric vehicle infrastructure, specifically in low-income communities, to help attain the state's climate change and environmental justice goals. As we know, if we really want to reduce petroleum usage by 50%, we have to, as all the previous speakers have talked about, reduce petroleum usage in transportation. This does that by really asking the CEC to take a look at how they are allocating their $100 million to support projects to expand clean vehicle infrastructure, especially in particular around electric charging stations. With last year's SB 535 De Leon being enacted, we think this is a complement to that bill and really ask that the Energy Commission to continue to delve deeper in building out electric car infrastructure in low-income communities. Respectfully ask for your aye vote on AB 946.
Any other members of the public that would like to testify in support of this bill? Any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, any questions from the committee going forward of the author? Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Ting. There's no question that I support getting EV infrastructure into disadvantaged communities. In fact, doing just that is central to accomplishing our clean air goals. I'm going to stay off your bill today, Mr. Ting, because I believe the clarification just isn't needed. I look forward to you bringing forward a more concise bill forward to the floor, and I'm hoping for your success.
Thank you very much.
My chair recommendation is none. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Aye. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. Aye. Chu, aye. Daly. Aye. Daly, aye. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Aye. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Medina. Aye. Medina, aye. Melendez. Nazarian. O'Donnell. Aye. Nazarian, aye.
Your bill is out 11 to 0. Congratulations, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bloom, we are moving out of order. Can I have that? Just 1 second, Mr. Bloom.
File item 33.
33. Please proceed, Mr. Bloom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee members. I'd like to begin by thanking committee consultants and all the stakeholders who participated in numerous discussions. And as a result, I have proposed authors' amendments that will remove the local licensing and other data collection requirements that this bill had. AB 1222 protects consumers in the towing industry by prohibiting bandit towing companies from soliciting tows at accident scenes and poaching work from small towing businesses. When a vehicle is damaged in a traffic collision, the operator or law enforcement may summon a tow truck to render assistance. But bandit towers monitor police and fire scanners in order to get to the scene first, then convince the vehicle owners to allow them to tow their vehicles to the bandit tower storage facility or repair shop.
Move the bill.
Once this is accomplished, the bandit demands thousands of dollars for excessive towing and storage fees, and might threaten a lien sale if the vehicle, if the unsuspecting consumer refuses. Bandit tows are often involved with auto repair scams, insurance fraud, and illegal kickbacks. And this harms consumers, insurance companies, small towing businesses, and others who play by the rules but lose customers to the predators. Lest you think this is a small problem, during the 18 months between January 1st, 2013 and June 30th, 2014, there were 586 reported incidents involving unsolicited tows throughout California, and about 40% of those were in Los Angeles County, according to the National Insurance Crime Bureau. What's more, experts believe that these crimes are vastly underreported, so the stats are probably higher. Preventing bandit tows have proven extremely difficult to enforce because there is no current law requiring legitimate tow truck operators to document their claim to law enforcement that they were solicited to the scene of the tow. AB 1222 fixes that problem by requiring documentation and a number of other changes. I'd be happy to address if there are questions about the specific changes. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce my bill sponsor and the Deputy City Attorney of Los Angeles, Mark Lambert, and advocates Andrew Antwi and others.
So I'll just remind you, 3 witnesses, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Andrew Antwi on behalf of the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. As the author stated, this problem is, and the incidence of illicit tow operations is particularly difficult to enforce. And I think from the City Attorney's Office, and I suspect even from the regulated industry's perspective, the goal of rooting out the bad actors is a shared goal. And to the extent that we can provide a paper trail as a tool for making it easier to enforce and protect consumers from being targeted by scam operators that in many cases are networked with tow yards and repair shops, we think is worthwhile. And I need to take a second and thank the committee staff for their tireless work on this and the guidance from the chair in arriving at a compromise. So with that, we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Mark Lambert. I'm a Deputy City Attorney. I've been one in the Consumer Protection Section for 20 years. I'm here on behalf of Los Angeles City Attorney Mike Fuhrer, who's a sponsor of this legislation. I have, in 2006, I worked on AB 2210, the towing legislation, which was meant to stop bandit towers from towing from private parking lots. And we worked with CTTA and OPG to get that legislation passed. And the wonderful thing about that legislation, it actually was successful. I mean, it was actually implemented. And I can tell you that district attorneys from Riverside County, from San Diego County, from Orange County, all use that statute to eradicate that problem. Unfortunately, the towing has moved, the bandit towers have moved to the solicitations for disabled vehicles on the freeways. And this bill will do the same thing that 2210 did, which is it will make the bandit towers provide proof that they were solicited to the tow scene, which they won't do, and then we'll be able to prosecute them and stop it. I want to especially thank the committee consultants for NCTTA for working with us to craft such a good bill. And I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Chris McKaylee on behalf of the official police garages of LA. We worked with the city of LA on 2210 almost 10 years ago, and this is the next avenue for bandit towers that we'd like to continue to combat, so we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Brooks Ellison on behalf of the California Tow Truck Association and the United Coalition for Motor Club Safety. While we're not quite in the position of support, we have removed our opposition, and we too want to thank the chair and the staff because literally hundreds of hours would not.
They've had their 3 witnesses. So are you in opposition? Because I haven't called
we removed our opposition, okay. So we're not in support.
So I'll call that up and next. But please limit your to support or not support after you name who you are and who you represent. Next witness in support, please.
We're not in support.
Okay, so then let me give other opportunities for any of the witnesses in the gallery that would like to support testify in support of the bill. Seeing none, so now in opposition we'll allow 2 minutes for 3 witnesses. Any opposition? go ahead and you'll get 2 minutes now because you're kind of not there.
I think we were the opposition, and through the efforts of the chair and the staff, and the author and the sponsors have been really, really gracious about the time and the openness to kind of get this right. And that's really the challenge. We hate bandits, and they hate bandits, and the trick is, how do you get at the bandits and not hurt the good guys, the professional towers that are trying to do it right? And that's not easy to do, but we really, really appreciate the fact of all the stakeholders coming together, and want to personally thank the author for all of the time and effort that he put in with the stakeholders to try to get this right. And we think we're going to get there, and we think we're going to continue to have good conversations.
Just didn't hear, were you with the California Tow Truck Association?
California Tow Truck Association, United Coalition for Motor Club Safety.
Next witness, please.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mike Canusa on behalf of the Automobile Club of Southern California. We worked very diligently to not be the opposition. There's been a tremendous amount of work that was done into this. We still have a couple of questions and concerns, but we've had great success working with the author, and we look forward in getting those kind of wrapped up within the next week or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, any questions from the committee of the author? Mr. O'Donnell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank your office. The consultants did a good job on this. It wasn't really workable at the start. It's more workable now. It may have a little bit more work to be done, but as one who drove a tow truck for 5 years on the streets of Long Beach and surrounding areas, I appreciate the goals here and people working together to find something that's much more workable.
Any other questions of the committee of the author? Seeing none, Mr. Bloom, would you like to close?
Thank you. This bill provides us with an opportunity to end pernicious activity, and I urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Would you like to make a statement, Mr. Asajian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It doesn't have really to do with your bill, but I also have received complaints when cars are towed legally from a parking lot because somebody didn't pay or it's a wrong place to park. And if a person who goes back within a half an hour to pick up their cars, if the cost is over $250, they got to be ripped off someplace here. So it's something in the future, maybe another bill on its way.
I see a bill in your future, Mr. Asajian.
I'll take that under advisement.
Yeah. So thank you for your close. Mr. Bloom, thank you for bringing this bill to our committee. Bandit towing is a big problem, and I appreciate your efforts to address it. I also appreciate the work that you've done closely with all the stakeholders to make this a better bill. And I really do have to commend my staff and your staff working together to really get this down to the nuts and bolts of what's going on. I realize the local licensing issue was problematic, and I think it would be worthwhile to look at something like this on a statewide basis, and I'm happy to help work with all parties to make that happen. Thank you again for your hard work to make this a better bill, and I'll be supporting your bill today. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, we do have a motion. I just don't know who caught it. We had a first. Mr. Chu, was that you? And who was the second? O'Donnell and Chu. So we do have, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass as amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Yes.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Baker, aye. Bloom.
Aye.
Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. Chu, aye. Daly. Daly, aye. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Linder, aye. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, aye. Nazarian.
Aye, and would be happy to co-author with you. Thank you.
Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, aye.
That bill's 13-0. It's out. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. We have Mr. Cooper.
No, Mr.
Oh, no, Mr. Cooper's then filed up if it's members. Which bill? Yeah. Bear with me 1 second, Mr. Cooper. So members, I think we have 8 bills left.